I will call the Great Cloud Island Township Board meeting for May 11th to order. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a motion to approve the minutes from April 11th.
Did you make a motion or you want?
I was asking for one.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of April 13th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
Treasurer's report.
All right, I'll review the April financial statement. We have a beginning balance of checking of $78,565, expenses of $39,346, and revenue of $2,222 for an ending balance of $41,441. Our UBS accounts went down again. Unfortunately, the legacy fund has now dropped below 230. That's the first time it's gone below 230 or 430. Excuse me. Expenses were up because salt sand with the county was higher again. Cheryl and I met with Washington County about a week and a half ago, and they've been doing some investigating because we suspected there was some duplication of billing. They've confirmed that, but we don't have any sense of how much it is. So they're still working on it. Thanks to Cheryl's good bookkeeping, we were able to notice a few things, and the county's been working with us. They're very cooperative in this, so hope to have that resolved by next month. Revenue was just down slightly because of the UBS payout. And our fund balances are tracking fine at this point. Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
I'll make a motion to approve treasurer's report.
I'll second it. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Alright.
Let's pay the bills.
I just got one question just for the CenturyLink, Cheryl, that's for this building, the phone? I'm assuming?
Yes.
And the Comcast, that must be for your house, I'm assuming. Well, they don't give us no bargain, do they? Comcast, bunch of thieves. Well, I'll make a motion to pay bills 65 through 77 for a total of $8,409.51.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to pay the bills. Any questions? Other than Dick's question.
Nope.
I don't have any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
I did.
Okay.
At the same time.
All right, reports of committees and meetings and events, Planning Commission report.
Mike, Mr. Chair and Supervisors, we met on Monday, had a number of items in front of us. The minutes are not finalized, we haven't given them to the clerk, but they should be done relatively soon. We had a number of items. One of them was the review of a letter that had been received from Mr. Nesbitt, basically giving feedback and input about additional measures that could be taken related to noise monitoring and whether or not we wanted to augment some of the recommendations that we had made last time with additional, let's call them measures for noise abatement. We discussed it, decided to ask the clerk to forward the letter to our attorney for review because the bottom of the letter just had some language related to the, if this is not done Mr. Nesbitt would be taking action against us and maybe the property owner, so we wanted to make sure that our legal folks were gonna take a look at it to see if there's any merit to it. That was an amount of discussion around that. Under business, we had a couple of things. We had the variance requests that I think are gonna occupy your time today for the County Road 75 and the Breeze property. We reviewed those lightly. There was a little bit of confusion on whether or not that was something that needed to be presented to the Planning Commission. After some discussion of that, we discussed it. Just our action is to advance it to you, obviously, for review. We didn't really take any action on it, but we did wanted to know that, and we confirmed with Patty Vessler, who was present, that the new variance requests are just basically unpacking the 3 requests that existed before. There's 2 of them that are being presented. There's nothing substantially different in them. So we make the note of saying, hey, it's for your consideration, but the resolution that you consider really has no, there's no new evidence being advanced other than perhaps some new drawings at the end of the variance request. So we didn't just, we actually ponder if you've got a variance request and it's denied, and you just do another one that's identical. And is that something that should be even advanced for consideration or not? I'm sure that you're gonna get into that debate today. So they are in front of you for consideration. We did have a CUP for the solar garden. Basically, we reviewed it, looked at the conditional measures that have been put in front of it ahead of time, advanced it for your approval, recommended for approval. And then we had some discussion, but no recommendations at this point around the IUP language. We looked at another township language, discussed whether or not we wanted to go that far. We just have to do additional research. We have no new action in front of you in that respect, other than we had a discussion about how do we include IUP language within our ordinances, and what changes and or modifications do we need to make to our own zoning ordinance to consider an IUP. And with that, Mr. Chair and supervisors, if you've got any questions, it was a great meeting. We've got new members of the Township Planning Commission. They're greatly engaged, and it's just great to see.
Good, that's fantastic.
Dick was there, obviously. If there's anything that I'm misrepresented, please let me know.
No, that's pretty much it.
And that is it. A couple of things for you to consider, and more work for us.
Thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Are you the planning commissioner now? I mean,
We didn't broach that subject this last time. I don't know how we got away with it, but we have not decided at this point. That's something,
Okay.
per your ordinance, we have to decide that at the beginning of the year. We didn't. We just wanted to see how it was gonna shake out. Given the fact that we've got some new folks, my recommendation is that we remain leaderless for a couple more months, see how things sort of lay out, and then we can make a decision if that's okay with Sarah.
It's working.
fine with me too.
Got it. We're getting the work done without an official lead, so I think things are working out.
Okay, thank you. Next planning commission meeting is Monday, June 6th at 6:30. The next town board meeting is Wednesday, June 8th at 7 o'clock. Any other reports from committees? We'll move on to unfinished business. Short-term rentals.
I think the planning commission is working on that. That's
Yeah.
kinda just
I
poking along, if you wanna call it that.
don't mind leaving that in their hands.
Right,
because
they're-
capable hands.
They're working on getting the IUP language into the ordinance so that they can convert. And also, short-term rentals, I don't believe they're going to, work on a ordinance for that. But they are looking at, permitting for events.
Yeah, if I may jump
Okay,
up.
yeah.
I apologize that I didn't see that on the agenda following. The short-term rentals is a type of IUP that we would consider, at least that's the way that we're heading, and then we would put conditions around that, whether or not it includes just a short-term rental in the traditional sense, or whether it's going to be event-driven. So the framework we've got is, hey, we've decided to include IUPs, what language do we want to use for that? Short-term rentals will be part of it, and then we can put conditions at that time. At least that's the hierarchy of how we're framing this up. If we end up seeing that we're gonna need an ordinance, we'll make that recommendation, but that's where we're at. And I know, and with respect, there's a certain amount of urgency that we've got in order to resolve that for you, because we don't want this to linger. We've been told that you'll be patient with it, but our intention is to have something for you to review next meeting in order for you to consider, is this gonna be enough or not? We just couldn't quite get to, for it to be fully resolved by today.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, I understand that.
It is, and bringing everybody along and making sure that everybody's gonna have this.
Well, then they're also working on a noise thing that incorporates the whole township. You know, not just the rental things, but, you know, basically covers noise everywhere.
Yeah, and that is consistent with the directions you gave last time. So last time you gave a blessing for a recommendation of including, let's just say, noise rules that would apply within ordinance, and considering an IUP framework that we can put short-term rentals. But it's not just for short-term rentals, because we want to see home occupations and how they roll into them and so on.
Sure.
So it's a little broader, and I think is the right thing to do, because then it's not narrow to one condition, but it applies to multiple things.
Sure. That's a really good idea.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other unfinished business?
Do we have any update on the Comcast, and have you heard back from, no?
Yes, I heard back from her. She's working on it. She needed something else from us other than those letters. She said those letters were good. Oh, she needed a letter from like the board, which I passed by you guys. And she said that was exactly what she needed, and so she's working on it.
Okay, thanks.
The only other thing I had was that, that Kulo guy, I think that's how you pronounce it, the trashy house on the left at the Y.
Yes,
When you told me, I forgot, when we supposed to be going to court with him?
the 23rd.
He is cleaning it up lately.
He's got more junk there too. He's doing both.
Oh, he's kind of going both ways. But
You know,
I go by there every day and there is less.
Really? I saw that he brought in more off of a driveway that's not there. He just,
Well, he had a lowboy back there loading junk onto it when I went by.
okay, maybe that's my.
Yeah, it might have looked like he's hauling in, but he was actually hauling out. I'll keep an eye on it and give you a notice, because if he's cleaning it up, we can probably save money and not go into court or put that off for, for something. We'll talk to the attorney if he actually is cleaning it up. I'll let you know.
We've been at this since 2017.
yeah,
Oh.
this is
Just to go to court and forget it?
ongoing. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought maybe he took a turn.
Yeah. And,
A big
and
turn.
interesting side note, the attorney, because the code enforcement officer, it's a virtual court, but the code enforcement officer has to be on it also, and our attorney told him, set aside the whole day.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, so I'll let you know how that goes. I have to
Okay.
be on it too.
All right.
Shall we move on to new business?
Yep.
The Solar Garden CUP renewal was recommended to approve by the planning commission. I'll make a motion to approve the Solar Garden CUP renewal.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there anything anybody wants to bring up?
I have a question about the screening. This is the third or fourth growing season.
Sorry?
The screening,
Oh, yeah.
that was in there, correct? That they had to, by now, it's supposed to be fully screened and it's maybe half.
Well,
Supposed to
we
be
had a drought last year. I don't think anything grew much.
Yeah, it's
We all
supposed to
know it
be.
wasn't gonna be screened in 3 years. They were just kicking the can down the road.
You want to talk about that, Eduardo? He brought that up at length at the meeting the other night.
It's supposed to be screened 75%
75?
by 3 years, and
Okay.
we did have a drought last year.
That doesn't matter.
No.
Yes, thank you for the question. So, good memory. There were in the CUP amendments, and we can't quite recall if it was the 18 or 19. There were a number of conditions that were added to the CUP renewal, one of them being the screening, and certain amount of dollars set aside were the goal not to be met. It's a little difficult to actually establish what 75% means. However, we discussed that in the context of accomplishing that requirement. And number one, we don't know if that would have been a requirement that had to be met last year, not this year. That's to begin with. Wade into the recommendation because we think that both may have sailed. Second of all, we place more emphasis on the fact that all the perimeter is healthy, that any of the non-dying trees or whatever may be have been replaced, and that we understood that the growing is going to be subject to Mother Nature. And in comparison to other solar gardens, this was a great example for the community. So in the context of not knowing if we really can take action right now, what 75% means, and the overall condition in contrast with other facilities, we thought that this was not the time to try to come down onto the, you have to comply with 75, what the heck does that mean? And we let those trees grow to accomplish what they were designed to do. That's where we were. We could have probably taken a different position, but given where we're at with the solar garden sort of adventure in general, we thought that that would be what the planning commission would advise. This is just an advice, so you can decide to take action differently.
Is there still an active contact? Because I believe ownership switched hands a couple times.
That is our understanding, that there's, I forget the name of the party, but there's a contact for it. And Patty did take some of those notes down. We're gonna try to find out whether or not that the dollars that were aside to do any remedy in should the conditions of the 75 not be met, that they would know whether or not that's clear now. And another recommendation we made, and at least we intend to follow through on it, is at some point to the board have a presentation by those that manage it to say how much power they're getting out of it, how's it going, and so on, just to make sure that there's a good feedback to the community about the fact that that is there, but it's helping along in the context of power generation.
But it doesn't help a single township resident.
Does not.
So that was part of the terms of the deal. I guess I would, as a resident, ask them if they could give us an assessment of the screening and how they might remedy it if it's short. If they plant more trees, great. Why would we not welcome that?
Yeah, and that's why we do recommendations and you guys take action. So if there's anything that you need to revisit, I've got the documentation with me. We can run and get copies of that language if need be. The only thing, Scott, that I would say is technically, I think that would have been a condition for conversation for last year.
When I brought it up last year, they said it was for next year.
Gotcha.
That is, I cannot take accountability for that.
It's not your fault. I'm just sharing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I get up and speak a little bit on this? Too short. Okay. I think the spirit of the language in the CUP that the previous town board issued, where it said, the solar garden will be attractively screened from view from the public right-of-way and neighboring properties to the maximum extent possible. And then it did state, to this end, MSC Great Cloud shall target exceeding 75% screening. I don't think that meant that the trees had to be full grown within 3 years, because that's just not possible. And they did plant some of the fastest growing spruce trees. They're Black Hill spruce, which they do grow faster than other varieties of spruce trees. I don't think it meant that they were going to be full grown mature trees within 3 years. That's just not feasible. What it meant is that the trees would be all around the solar array, which they are, and they have replaced. Whenever Cheryl or anybody's reached out to me about dead trees, I've reached out to them and they've come right out and replaced them. So I think we're the max of the 75%, that was putting the trees around 75% of the solar project, which is well beyond that. It didn't mean maximum height for the trees themselves. So just to clarify.
Thank you, Patty.
You mean they weren't gonna be 50 feet high in 5 years?
I wish, because if they were gonna be, I'll plant the same trees in front of my
Yeah,
house
yeah.
when the railroad thing goes in.
So I would like to make a friendly amendment to my initial motion for approval. And it goes this way. Have the solar garden owner attend the next town board meeting on June 8th, 2022. That would be the amendment.
I'll second that.
Discussion on that.
Sure.
Certainly, if you guys are interested in meeting the solar people, we can try and get them to a meeting. I don't know if they can be available on the 8th, but can you give us a couple meetings to have them come in?
Sure, June 8th or July.
Can I ask
Yeah.
what you're really gonna want from them?
I want them to tell us what 70% means. I want
You
them
folks
to,
wrote the 70, you wrote that language.
right,
That was your.
understood,
That's the township.
understood.
Not the solar projects.
But it's subjective.
But that would be you folks telling us what your subjectivity was for that 75% that was right in.
Well, we also want to contact them and, you know, what's the plan? How is it going?
Well,
How
I
is
can
the,
certainly get that information and provide it to Cheryl. I don't know if these folks are local. A lot of these companies, they're not local. I mean, I'm happy to reach out to them, but that information I can certainly get and provide to Cheryl to in turn provide to the board.
well, I think the board would like to meet the owner.
How about, I'm just throwing out options. We come back with a report on the 8th. If it meets your expectation, we drop it there, and if you want more, we can try and fly somebody in or whatever it takes. Would that be acceptable?
Yeah, I would accept that.
I mean, I can certainly reach out to them to see how many households are, provided with electricity from that project and what they routinely provide.
I guess who do you call if there's a problem there? You know,
I reached out to the contact that I've had since I took over.
is that a local person or do they just contract it out to somebody if there's a problem?
We'll do our homework.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll come back with a.
You probably don't know the answer to all them anyway,
I'm
yeah.
not prepared for that one right
Yeah.
now, but we can do
Yeah.
what we.
Well, okay, I think we can accept what aggregate brings back on the 8th.
Yeah.
So that would be part of the friendly amendment.
Okay.
We would accept what aggregate brings back on the 8th from the owner. I really would like to meet him, but
Who knows, maybe the guy lives 2 miles out. We'll probably be- We'll see. We'll see where they're at.
So are you saying that you're approving the conditional use permit on the condition that they give you a report next month? I just want
Just a
to
minute,
understand how to
let me-
write this.
okay. Yes,
We want to just put this off till next month?
That'd be a
Yeah.
lot better than, yeah.
next month.
Doesn't matter to you people, does it? I mean, in reality?
No, I just question, why it would not be approved tonight. You get a report regardless.
Well, we're approving it tonight. The motion was to approve it. I just made an amendment to it.
Okay. So you approve the renewal of the conditional use permit on the condition that you receive a report next month?
Yes,
Okay.
from Aggregate Industries.
Yep, no problem.
Well, I'll second that then. How's that sound?
You already did.
Already did, okay.
All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. tenant sanitation contract renewal.
We don't have the amount here, but I seen that Cheryl sent it out. I'll make a motion to approve tenant sanitation contract renewal. That's for recycle stuff, in case anybody's wondering what it is.
I have it if you want me to.
Oh, I think you sent it to us.
I sent
Yeah,
it
she
to
did.
all,
Yeah.
I sent it to all of you.
We get a fairly good deal.
Looks like it.
Yeah, we did. Because 2019, I think I had the county look at it, review our contract, and they said it was a very good deal.
Did we second Dick's motion
To approve this?
to
The
approve it?
tennis, I'll second that.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the tenant sanitation contract renewal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The only thing I don't know, and it has nothing to do with this, is what's the difference in our garbage bills? Because we're just getting, everybody in township just getting charged for trash pickup. How much would we have to pay extra? I wonder if we had recycling included in there. I'm just curious how much we're,
Well, I have recycling.
well, we all have it, but you don't have to pay for it on your bill each month.
Right, the township pays for it.
Yeah.
County pays for that.
Recycling.
For all residents. I have it on my bill.
You do?
Yes, I
I'm gonna bring my bill over to your house to check it out.
We'll look at that for next month. We'll take a look at that. I always kind of wondered,
For recycling every month,
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty sure.
is that the count, I wonder if that's the county's fee? I'd have to look at the bill too. My wife pays it. I don't look at it all the time. But anyway, okay, we can move on. We'll look at that next month.
So we need to set a date for the AI variance hearing.
I think Cheryl's got something for that.
I checked with the attorney to see what dates he is not available. And then just personally, because I'm going to be going on vacation, I'm recommending either Tuesday, May 31st or Wednesday, June 1st.
I like Wednesday the 1st.
I do too.
I can do that.
Let's do that. Okay. Put it in your calendars.
What time?
Well, it doesn't have to be, I would say 6 or 6:30.
That's what 6:30?
Okay?
6:30.
Can I ask one question on that?
No.
No?
Yeah,
Tom, I'd be curious, is there a way to get a map, like you guys are recommending this stuff, like that would show where the new road and stuff would be? Like just roughly, a rough sketch, other than just like the mining area? Like where it would give us more of a complete package of what it would look like? Just a half-ass sketch or something? I don't know if that's possible or not, or if we don't wanna attach any of that, I don't know.
Or even a full ass sketch would be good, with everything, you know.
What road, what new road?
Well, that, obviously you must be taking out that, you know, this would take out Jasper Lane or whatever, so whatever would happen with that, I guess,
Okay.
just to have a rough idea. That was just my only thought.
So the variance is set for Wednesday, June 1st at 6:30, the variance hearing. Any other?
I,
You want me to get up, or can I talk from here long enough?
You can talk from there.
Okay, so, we reached out to you folks last Thursday or Friday. I sent an email to Cheryl requesting extended hours for one of our, customers, Total Excavating, for a Northport Logistics project, which is in Cottage Grove. You were graciously kind enough to say, yes, that would be fine. We have several other projects out there this summer that we would want to be doing the same for, requesting extended haul hours. Not all of them have started yet. Our question is, do you want us to follow the same protocol that we followed in past years, where I reach out to the town clerk? I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up about them. There's Cottage Grove, as you know, is booming with new businesses, new projects going on out there, housing and other development projects, some of which some of our customers have procured. So I'm just wondering, do you want us to follow that same protocol? Where I reach out to Cheryl, via email? That's
Sure.
Yeah, the same thing, same way.
Yeah, it worked good. That way, if we hear any complaining,
Yeah.
we would know.
And
You know.
I can certainly give, Cheryl, before we leave, a list of the projects that we know about so far.
Is there a way to just make sure we get like hours that we're asking for or something? I mean, I know most of those job sites don't run trucks super early and stuff, but I know like,
Well, I've always given her the hours that we're requesting
I don't know.
for that.
Did we get that for the last go?
You know what, yep, that one I was,
Okay.
that one I
Okay.
didn't give it to
I
her.
just, so they're not traveling till 9 o'clock at night or not. I assume they're
We
not.
never
I know,
have
yeah,
travel,
no,
yeah.
I know, yep.
Never ever, no.
Just what's in there, yeah.
7 would be the latest, I think, and not, I don't even know if we go that long, so, but
Okay.
I'll provide a list to Cheryl.
Okay,
The ones that we know about right now,
sure.
so.
Lynn?
So whatever happens to, after Larson closes, you start taking it out of yard A? That's not the way it always used to be. They never used to go past 4 o'clock down here. They would switch everybody to yard A. All the trucks.
I'll have to say, I wasn't around here back then. Some of our protocols obviously have changed. If there's a project that is in Cottage Grove, obviously it makes more sense to take it directly out of Larson rather than having that customer go all the way up to yard A. They're traveling less roads, certainly. I know they're local roads, but we do have a transportation manager that strongly mandates and directs the haulers, no Jake breaks, abide by the speed limits. If there's an issue, obviously, we want the neighbors to reach out to us. We reach out immediately to that hauler and say, stop or you're not gonna be able to haul.
Okay, whenever I try to get a hold of Casey or anybody down at Larson, there's never anybody that picks up the phone. I had to talk to Tom here this last week. There was a quad going at, he must have been going 90 miles an hour. He was flying, and he was going towards the pit. I couldn't even get a name off him. That's how fast he was going, just a color. Tom took care of it, and they did start to slow down, but give it another 2-3 days, it'll be just back to the way it is. I don't know why we can't get the cops. We're still paying them, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why we can't get the cops to monitor it. And when Tom's not around, because he is a regional guy, right, Tom?
Yeah, I got your number in my phone.
Yeah,
Call
so-
anytime. I picked you up on 3 rings and I had an answer back to you within a half hour. We had that traffic call.
Yeah, it was great.
And traffic slowed
but-
down, so.
But I think we should really have somebody local in case you're not around or you're in a meeting, something like that. And Cassie never answers the phone. I always call there first.
Do you call the, can I ask if you're calling the
I
office
call,
number or?
I call her number that she sends out all of the blast information to, and then I also call the Larson Pit.
Okay, the quarry number, yeah, I will say, Lynn, that probably is hit or miss, that you're gonna catch somebody at that phone. Casey's number, I will also tell you that if she's out in the pit itself, our safety protocols mandate that she cannot pick up the phone out there. So if you leave a message, but certainly I know you have Tom's number, I know you have Scott Schaffler's number. I'm also on Scott Schaffler, you've met with him before. He's our operations manager. And my number is also on the text string for the blast. And I'm happy to give it to you tonight too again.
Okay.
So, but Scott Schaffler's been at your house before.
That's the young guy, right?
Not as old as me, but
But I'm your best bet, Lynn,
he's
'cause
your best bet. And he
if
is local.
you call Casey and complain, Casey calls me. So I do sales as a business. I'm your best bet.
Oh, okay.
Call me, if you don't get
So
me,
you're in direct contact with the people that own the trucks?
that's how I was
Contract
able to get back to you so quickly, yes.
Okay.
So I'm your best bet. If I start letting you down, then we're gonna have to do something else, but I'm watching for you, we'll keep working through it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say the best thing, if you see a truck, try and get a name or number or follow it down the pit. Cause there ain't much they can do if they don't know which truck it was.
Yeah,
You know, I
down
mean,
at
it's-
the S curve, that's been a big problem too this year. They go way over the double line there through the S curve. It's,
One thing to keep in mind is we can't stop them from hauling out of there.
well, no,
You know, they're
no.
public streets, so I mean,
But
you know.
we can educate the
Yeah.
driver that, hey, if you can't keep on your side of the road and do the speed limit, then you're out of here.
yeah.
Which is what we do. I will say, we do that. Like I say, we have transportation manager now, not have a transportation manager. You know, back in the day, we did not have a transportation manager. That is his whole job is to deal with the haulers.
The supervisor for taking care of it.
So, yeah.
Okay,
Any other new business?
I
we
do.
want-
Just want to remind you guys that we haven't received the second half of our ARPA funds yet. We received 17,000 something last year, and we should get the same again this year. There will need to be a project that those funds get spent on. So, you know, when you're looking at roads and things, keep that in mind. That we have, you know, like $34,000 that needs to go to a project. And we'll have to give the project a name. It'll need to be reported on next year. This year's reporting already went in, and I just said we hadn't designated anything for it yet. Then the other thing is, we forgot to mention last month that longtime resident Elizabeth Bell, who was also town clerk and deputy town clerk, passed away on March 25th.
That was gonna be my next thing is roads. We wanna, well, Ted had his hand up. Let's see what Ted wants.
Well, I have a question about the seismographs. I know we talked about that before. There's 3 seismographs that I know about. There's one by my property, one by Jeff's, and there's one down here too, right?
I don't think they're doing my house anymore.
But, I mean, presumably these seismographs are working, you know, they've got the equipment in the ground, they're taking readings of every blast, they're being recorded somewhere. We might as well get the data to see, you know, it's already, all the hard work's done, someone's just gotta email the readings. And, I mean, if they weren't working, we wouldn't know, I guess, because we're not getting the readings, but, you know, just, it'd be nice to, once a month, just to see the blast readings.
Is that something that you could provide?
Tom is already doing that, aren't you, Tom?
Yeah, so we had our first community outreach meeting. Mr. Polto was in attendance there, where we reviewed those we strategically picked people around our quarry in a circle, and we reviewed those, and we'd be willing to do that again.
I think what he's asking is to be able to see them. You know, I see them as the group that we met with, but I think what some people are looking at is to have access to them. And then there's not just the 3, is there? Because them are there all the time, but then you have, I forget the blasting company, they do other ones at the same time, right? Concurrently?
We have 2 permanent ones, and then we're running 2 mobile ones, depending on what we're doing. So, like we discussed in that community outreach meeting, that raw data, if you don't know what you're looking at, doesn't mean a dang thing to anybody. So I'm keen on the education first, so we know what we're looking at and everybody understands. I'd like to have another one of those meetings, and then we can talk about that potentially. If that's something we can do.
I think that would work.
We can't just get the data and look at it ourselves. I mean, I don't understand why the data wouldn't be available.
Ted,
Yeah,
with all due respect,
yeah,
my husband was at the meeting,
okay.
and he said, yeah, without knowing how to read this, it means nothing. I mean, you have to, I mean, it's not like earthquakes,
Sure.
you know,
But certainly, we're not gonna let them explain to us how to read these readings, and we're not gonna use their experts. We're gonna we're gonna, you know, we're gonna take these readings, and if we think we're gonna go to another party, we're not gonna let the court explain to us that these, readings are acceptable, and let me explain to you why, you know, right? And it doesn't make sense really to me.
I can understand why Tom don't wanna let him out, but I can also understand why residents wanna see him. And Ted hasn't been the first one that's asked about that, that's, several people have. And I guess if you release them and they read them wrong, you don't have anything to worry about, right? Yeah, you know, if they take them to another expert, and the other expert should tell them the same thing you told us.
I'm dealing with a lot of different parties and a lot of hearsay and a lot of things.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to just get one message sent so everyone's got the baseline information before these things are out and nobody knows what they're looking at and we've got everything's flying everywhere. So that's where I'm at. I have no problems. And in fact, if you go back and you pull some of our previous permits and things, they're in there. They're publicly posted. So we can continue to talk about it. I would like to have another meeting and we can invite some more people, but that would be my preference and then we can go from there.
Because I mean, we could always add them to your annual permit that you have to supply them. You know,
Yep.
I mean, that, you know, that's the next option. I understand why you don't want to give them out, you know, just, because of what you showed me.
I'm not holding these things tight.
Yeah.
We've got nothing to hide, but
yeah. But I can understand why other people want to see them too.
Yep.
Even if they don't understand them, it's,
yep.
you know,
And we've shown, we put them in permits and we've had our first meeting and we can do more of that or however we want to proceed here.
what do you guys got to say?
Well, I understand where Ted's coming from. I honestly do. But at the same time, if those are public information, then it shouldn't be difficult to send them.
I will say that I do not believe Minnesota rules require that they be public information. And I don't believe that all quarries that blast are even required to have the seismographs, but we do. So it's not that they're required to be put as public records.
Well, wasn't Tom just saying that they're public information on the?
No, he said that we have, in the past, when we've renewed 5-year conditional use permits with the county, we've provided them to the county. He's not saying that we're required by law to provide them.
Are you seeing some of that information in the meeting? I mean, it sounds like you guys must have got shown some stuff. Are you learning how to read it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they showed us different levels and where they've been and historically where they've been and where they are. And what they're showing us, they're within, recommended guidelines, that a good way to put it, I guess.
I mean, I look at it, someone from the township, if you're in a group thing and they're giving somebody, I mean, that's kind of a third party overseeing it, or if you're comfortable instead of just public, but.
Well, it goes back to the trust of the public. You know, if somebody says we're not gonna give you something, naturally, the public is gonna think you're withholding
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
That's just natural, you know. And if you give the public the information, they do the wrong thing with it, well, I guess as long as you're doing the right thing, if they take the information and they misinterpret it, it shouldn't be no bearing on you.
Till it's in the paper and it's, you know, I mean,
Oh, talk about the paper, did you see on Facebook the people up in St. Paul Park complaining about you?
no, it's that.
Yeah, did you see that, Patty?
I did not see it, but I.
The blasting.
Yeah, at the end of Summit, St. Paul Park neighbors was in there,
Oh, I heard about Mississippi Dunes.
oh, at the end of Summit, there was people complaining about you.
And-
So,
I did talk to the city of Cottage Grove, and there are a couple of other companies that blast in this area too. So.
I don't know, I'd like to see you release them, like I say, if people take their information wrong, and you did nothing wrong, big deal.
Well, Tom brings up a good point though, Dick, that, you know, if that's in the papers, then it's very hard say, oh no, that, that was misrepresented. Those folks were not knowledgeable enough to read the data. So, I mean, in the end, if the township ends up hiring an expert of their own to read them, that's really the only way that it's gonna be proven that we're doing the right thing. Laymen are just not.
Well, we can't hire an expert either, because we don't have the figures.
So, I'm saying
Right.
if we, I mean, you saw the figures, if the township decided, yep, we're gonna hire an expert, and then you guys asked for them. I think we need to have a few more of these community outreach meetings with you sitting in there. We have a member with the planning commission sitting in there, and like Tom said, we have other members that are strategically placed around the township. that we asked.
You can have the whole board there if it's just a,
I didn't think we could have the whole.
Yeah. it's not a meeting.
Yeah, it is.
You gotta publish it, they're all gonna be there.
Not if it's a site visit.
Not if it's a site visit.
I don't know.
It's not a site visit.
But
And I
this
think
wasn't
when
a
we
site,
had-
this was people gathering in
Yeah.
a meeting.
But there's no official action taken. It was just informational.
You're still discussing township business.
Well, that's okay. We can put a notice in the paper and then we can do it. That's not a problem. I mean, that's,
Yeah, let's do that.
well, the next time you have one of them meetings, do you care if Ted shows up there? I mean, or anybody else that, I understand you don't wanna have 300 people there, but I mean,
We can host another one, we can have an alternate board member as opposed to you, and we'll do another.
Well, you can have all three board members, true, I'll just have to publish it.
yeah.
Ken,
I just don't understand, we asked for these seismograph readings, and they say, oh, we can't give them to you because you guys don't understand them. And then they say, well, we'll give them to somebody that can understand them. Well, we're not required by law to give them to you. It's a couple different arguments, I just don't understand. I mean, we're smart enough, aren't we? They could give us the data, and then there's a public discussion. I say, maybe I come and I say, these blasts are too loud. And then they say, no, they're not. There's a discussion. That's what this is about, right? So I
Yes.
think the best thing to do is to get this data out, not from the quarry, but from the third party, releases the data, and then we do it with what we want. Maybe we send it to the University of Minnesota. Maybe, they bring in their experts if they want to. But, we're smart enough as a community to be able to interpret this stuff, right? I think.
And if we're not, somebody else
It seems
is.
like if I was a quarry, I'm not saying anything's is wrong, but if there was something going wrong and I was a quarry, what I would say is, I can't give you that data, for whatever reason. Maybe you don't understand it. Maybe we're not legally required to release it to you. I'm not saying it is, but that's what you would say if it was the blasts were too strong, and we know that neighbors here have pictures falling off the walls. So, the data is being recorded. We have that, why can't we just see the data and deal with it? We're smart enough to do that.
Why don't you go back and talk to your legal people on this and see what they want to do, because I understand both sides. I understand why you don't want to release it, but I can certainly understand why somebody else would want to see it.
And I'm not saying I don't want to release it.
Okay.
I'm saying I'd like to make sure we have some education behind it so people know what they're looking at. So, we'll go back and come back to you.
You gonna do that next month?
Sure thing.
Okay, because,
Okay.
well, you can understand where people, and it's just not the people sitting in there, other people feel like, if somebody won't release certain data, especially when it's shaking their house, and let's put this, so you didn't say you won't, but say you're hesitant to, it certainly sets up a concern as to why.
I can only explain my position
Yeah.
so many times.
Yep.
Yep,
I'd like to control the release, make sure we understand what we're looking
Okay.
at, deliver the message, and then the data can go.
And like I say, again, if you don't want to, we can always make it part of the annual permit. Okay, what else? How about our roads?
or what?
Talk about that next month, fixing our roads?
Yeah, let's talk about it
Repair.
next month. I think we should get out of here before it rains.
Okay. we're done.
No. It's a positive thing for you guys, so I think you wanna listen to it. Aggregate Industries is gonna get a team of their employees, and we're gonna clean up the road from the Y to our quarry entrance.
Oh, okay,
We're trying to do that this Friday.
okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
Could I add one comment?
Yep.
I'll just get to the microphone to be clear. So, the question of this 75% screening, Scott, just kept spinning in my mind. So I've read and reread and like 15 times read the additional conditions that we put on the 2018 permit, okay? And the best way that I interpret it is that what it was meant is that 75% of the screening that was promised would be in place. Would be in place, basically, and then there's a map associated with it that is very, very detailed about the exact number, the rows, the distance between the type of trees and so on. So the intention is that it was going to get accomplished within 3 seasons, not that the screening would be perfect within 3 seasons. Just wanted to clarify that because I know you asked via your action to have a report, and I think that they're probably going to come up with the same conclusion. In order to ensure that, then you put a condition to say, get me a financial bond to my name, that if you don't do it, we're gonna do it. So you put $65,000 away to do that. That was condition number 1. You'll do 75%, which has been done, according to all these conditions, within 3 years. That's basically it. I think it was done within a year, and then they've been fixing it and so on. I'm the one that calls Sarah with the updates. However, there's a second condition, just want to make you aware of it, that you put $100,000 away, or ask them to have the entity in your name put $100,000 away, in case they abandon it, so you can clean it. That never goes away. It is renewed at 5-year intervals within the aggregate permit. Just want to know that that was not discussed, because it's not something that lapses. The 3-year season was about the money that they would have to put away if they don't do screening, which they have. The second condition of the $100,000 never goes away, and it renews at the 5-year increments. Wanted you to know that, because I don't think that we were clear. I was not clear about what it meant, and it is relatively black and white once you read it and reread it.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
thank you. That's different than what I remembered, but,
Yeah, and I.
so is it 100% complete, or is it only 75%?
So I tried to do the best measurements that I could. I think that certainly they've complied, and I didn't go out there to measure it, but they've complied with what they drew, and I've got the original layout. At least to the best of my ability, without measuring trees and so on, it looks like it's in complete compliance beyond the 75%, because I think they've done all 100% of it, and then they actually added some elements to the front of it. But I just didn't want you confused by our lack of explaining what we meant by that 75. It was just, you're going to do this, and you're going to put them in place within 3 years. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
You bet.
Motion to adjourn?
Unless anybody's got anything else.
Oh, I guess.
Make motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.